we have enough labor laws to protect workers, then we don't need to have the unions. And I think that's what's bringing us down.
Mr. Brett.
Well, of the two responses so far, at least Mr. Harmon is starting to touch on the how of it, and not just what we would like to do. Again, we need some answers, not just talking a good game and rhetoric. Here's how we start to do that. If we switch our taxing code, again, start taxing on consumption, not on production. If you go to a business owner and you say to him, the more you produce, the more you're going to get taxed. Well, maybe I shouldn't produce as much. Or maybe I should go to another country that won't tax me for increasing my production. So the proper venue then is the tax code. If we revamp this tax code that again is written by lobbyists for lobbyists and start to make it a tax code that is simple to understand, we waste billions of dollars a year just preparing our taxes. And in fact, we don't even pay taxes. Taxes are withheld from us. Corporate taxes are a fallacy. They embed the cost of their taxes in the cost of their product that we then pay for. Let's revamp this tax code that is just so crazy and out of control.
I have about 30 seconds for rebuttal. Gentlemen, wish to use that. Dr. Scott.
Well, we have to go back to the Davis-Bacon Act, which was instituted in Brooklyn, New York, in terms of prevailing wage. And that's something that exists in the state. Yes, unions can be a problem. But I asked each of you, what kind of car are you driving outside? That's the real question. You know, I drive those old Buicks for 320,000 miles each time. And then there are people driving around in cars that are made in foreign countries. That's one way of bringing down the deficit, trade deficit. Buy American.
Mr. Harmon.
Well, the people I work with throughout the week and talking to their families, they refuse to take on a $10 hour job in order to work, but they're holding out and sitting out and waiting for the $50 an hour job. And that falls back to everybody wanting to be with the union in order to make money and capitalize on it.
Mr. Ray.
I already gave the main thrust of it, tax code. Mr. Scott brings up Buy American. Well, let's actually look at that. What does that mean? If I buy a Subaru Isuzu car, well, the Subaru Isuzu doesn't exist anymore. If I buy a Subaru, I'm buying a car made in America by Americans. The tag just happens to be from Japan. Whereas if I buy an American GM that's made in Mexico, so what's the real buying of America? I would rather support a business that employs Americans right here in this state, that is paying income taxes to this state, that is providing jobs and wages to people that live in this state so that they can then reinvest. So just to say buy American without actually discussing it is not right.
Thank you. Gentlemen, this question comes from a number of students who submitted questions for our debate this evening. The cost of a college education. And starting with you, Mr. Harmon, what do you do to make the cost of college more affordable?
Well, the reason why it's expensive is that professors here need to make a living too, and that's part of it. And plus, everybody wants to go to a nice school where the infrastructure is expensive. The only thing that you can really do is give out the student loans and make sure that they pay it back after they graduate. And what a lot of people would like to do is get their school loans and then not pay it back or hope for deferment. So the only thing that you can really do is save in your younger years and then work through school.
So, Mr. Ray.
Sound like a good man.
Well, quite simply, there's a couple different things you could do. You know, student loans, certainly that's one of them. Let's look at the percentage rates, the interest that's charged on these students. You know, my wife comes out of school and she's got loads of debt. Here's another idea, though. How about we have parents actually teach their kids to work hard? I put myself through Wabash College, a private school. It cost about $40,000 a year. I paid about $3,000 a year because I worked hard, got an education, got scholarships. You know, actually did what I needed to do to go to a college that I wanted to go to without putting myself in such a debt load that when I got out of college, I couldn't do anything. And that's what we need to start looking at. Sometimes we need to just look in the mirror, look at ourselves, and make sure that what we are doing as a people is the right thing. We can no longer just lay blame on anybody else. But student loans is one thing, looking at parents and their kids is another thing, and obviously then the cost of the administration. When you pay the guy at IU basketball more than anybody else in the state, that drives up the cost of education. Does he need $500,000 a year to coach? I don't know. We're a free market economy, so he certainly earned it.
Dr. Scott.
Education is transformative. It's what made this country great. My daughter just finished her PhD in marine molecular biology and genetics. She has a bill of $30,000, and I get a constant phone call, can you help? And the answer is no. You chose it, and she has worked hard, certainly. And with the new loans to students, by cutting the middleman, it's going to work. But here's something to think about. Truck drivers, state police, make more money than full tenured college professors. I was going to recuse myself from this question, but it's where the priorities. If education makes people whole in terms of their ability to be a part of society, then we must invest in that. And I contend that many businesses must invest in order to make these institutions not only competitive, but the best in the world.
30 seconds for rebuttal, Mr. Carmen.
Well, here's one option that some people may not like. Join the military, and
Yeah.
sometimes we'll pay for both. The Marine Corps paid for my military, and I'm quite fortunate for that.
Mr. Ray.
There was a statement just said that I have to agree with. Education made this country great. It absolutely did. Until the Department of Education came along and drove up the cost of education and drove down the quality of education. That's another thing we can look at. What they were doing, what they are doing, and what they want to do is standardize the process by which you learn. Nobody learns the same way. How about this? Let's standardize the end result. And I see this every Thursday. I go volunteer, and I have for 3 years teaching third graders how to read. They read at a first grade level, but those kids keep getting passed along. Again, standardize the end result. If you can't read in third grade, leave them there.
Dr. Scott.
I have no comment.
Our next question, gentlemen, comes from Audra McClure of Monrovia. The question is, the general Republican stance on gay marriage is that it should not occur. Excluding any religious references, what evidence can you present to support the claim, if that is your position, that gay marriage is wrong? We'll start with you, Mr. Ray.
Gay marriage is not a federal issue, and I am running for a federal office, not a state office. Again, we go to the Constitution to answer these questions. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say we, the federal government, are going to dictate issues of marriage to its citizens. It just doesn't say that. Now, regardless of my personal beliefs, I've got to hold my belief in the Constitution above all else. So the next question is, where do we go? We go to the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment tells us that if this power is not reserved to the federal government, nor prohibited to it by the states, then that issue is reserved to the states and its people. Let's let the states take the lead on this.
Dr. Scott.
I like his legal mind, but I ain't going there. I'm not in favor of it, especially the use of the word marriage on two people who decide to cohabit. If people so choose to do that, I mean, gays have been here long before I came on this planet, and they're going to be here after I'm gone, so they can do as they please. The use of the word marriage as a sacrament is one that we must protect, and that is marriage between a man and a woman. End of conversation.
Mr. Carmen.
The Constitution was based on the Bible and British common laws. So therefore, in my opinion, that it should be any gay marriage, because I believe I'm a tolerant person, being a Christian, that Jesus was also a tolerant person, that he accepted everybody. But in order to come into this flock, then you had to walk in his ways.
30 seconds for rebuttal, Mr. Ray.
Sounds like both of these gentlemen need to run for state office to make sure that Indiana does not have gay marriage.
Dr. Scott.
I didn't say they couldn't have gay marriage. They can have unions if they so desire, but not the use of the word marriage. Marriage is a copyright word out of the Bible. It is one that we must maintain, and I'm sure you will find it in the Quran and in the Torah. So therefore, we must not allow people to use words so that there's a misconception of the concept.
Mr. Harper.
If one state recognizes it, then the other states have to recognize it under the Commerce Clause. So therefore, we're going to have to push to make sure that it's equal all the way across.
Gentlemen, we're getting close to the end. We have about 5-6 minutes left here before we get to our closing statements. I want to touch on the issue of trade, issues such as NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, also the GATT, General Agreement on Trades and Tariffs, etc. Your general position on trade, and do you believe, starting with you, Dr. Scott, that America's trade policy hurts America's competitiveness?
It does in some ways. For instance, I was down in Tijuana looking at the trucks that are lined up for 5 miles from Mexico trying to get into the United States. They finally have an X-ray